to use Nigeria or Nigerian, and then occasionally make tangential reference to the rest of Africa. There is a sense in which Nigeria is like what we call, in research, what we call single case generalization. In other words, if you put water in a container, ideally when you are doing research, when you are doing sampling, there is a certain number of variables you are supposed to pick before you can generalize. But there is the case where you can pick just one drop of water from a container, and it's enough for you to conclude about the rest of the content of that cup. Now, if you pick Nigeria in this case, to a great extent, what is Nigeria or Nigerian is much of what is Africa. So I felt it's safer to talk about Nigeria in the sense that if there are one or two things which are Nigerian, but which are not, which would not apply to the rest of Africa, fine. That's why I decided to narrow my trust to Nigeria, but then with very regular references to the rest of Africa.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Dr. Dixon?
Yeah.
You're a member of the planning committee. So can you tell us about the significance of the 103rd Inaugural Lecture of the University of Uyo?
Well, thank you. It is significant because the lecturer is one person that is widely known in the University of Uyo. For one, he's the Dean, Faculty of Arts, and as you rightly mentioned earlier, a published poet, a winner of the Association of Nigerian Authors that have prize for poetry, and a strong ASU member with connections here and there. And so he's being the 103rd inaugural lecturer. It's not just fortuitous, but also very, very significant, both for those of us in the Faculty of Arts and for the entire university. And so that's why we're very happy that he's the one to deliver this lecture, and we're very excited.
Okay, sir. So what does it take for one to be qualified to be an inaugural lecturer?
Yes, actually, it's a university ritual. Let me call it that way. It gives a professor an opportunity to tell the audience publicly this time what he has been professing, the essence of his research, his career, having been devoted to this particular field of studies for about 30, 35, 36, 37, 39 years now. And so it's like being unveiled in the market square now to say, this is what has kept me indoors for this number of years. And that takes me back to the question you asked earlier. Why is the topic bare? Well, to someone who has English and literature background, it appears bare. But it is not necessarily bare, because if you look at it closely, you will see that there appears to be a pun on that word, post-colonial. You have the first one, and if you look at it very well, you will see that the second one has inverted commas. And so that's where the key to understanding that topic lies. But then on the general note, inaugural lectures are not supposed to be occasions for hardcore lectures. Inaugural lectures are supposed to be occasions for presenting, as I said, unveiling what the academic had been doing or has been doing over the last 39 years in his own case. So it should not be a hard nut for the audience to crack, because we're going to have an audience that comprises people from different backgrounds, the sciences, and even those who are not lettered, so to speak. We would have people from his village coming, and people from, that kind of a thing. We also have people who are not even English speakers who will come. And so it should be presented in such a way that what is presented will be highlights of his achievements over time. And of course, in his own case, with his background, is going to be a little bit of performance, not necessarily talk. And so that's why it needs to be that way.
Interesting. Okay, so how do you think Professor Oshia's expertise and background will contribute to the discussion on post-colonial studies in Nigeria?
Yes, personally, when I saw that topic, I was surprised because he had always disagreed with some of us who believe that what we have in Nigeria and, in fact, much of Africa is post-colonial. He had always preferred to use neo-colonial. So when I saw the topic, but again, if you look at it, that's why it's a question now. How post-colonial? So we would not want to broach the topic. Yes, we want him to come and tell us. And then after he has presented, the argument will go on, even after the lecture. But again, it's also interesting because, for one, you mentioned earlier that he is a professor of general stylistics and literary criticism. So we would have expected him to dwell on that particular area. But again, some of us who also know him are not surprised that he could be unpredictable at this point. That's because, you see, he straddles both language and literature. And so we expect that it's going to be a very interesting, intellectual feast that we're going to be, participating in. So let's see how it goes on that day.
Okay, you're a member of the planning committee. So how has the planning committee prepared for this significant event, considering the current academic and global landscape?
Yes, you're right, because we're in the middle of exams right now, second semester exams, and there are lots and lots of activities. But we've been meeting. The planning committee is doing very well. We're equal to the task. As I said, we have actually planned very well. As you know, it will be taking place at the 1,000-seater capacity auditorium at the main campus of University of Uniuyo. And we expect that hall will be filled to the brim. We expect that it's going to be. So we've made adequate preparations for a successful event. We expect quite a good number of guests to come both from within and without, given Ushi's tentacles that are spread here and there. And so we are mindful of the fact, and we are making adequate and necessary arrangements to ensure that all those that will come will be taken care of.
Okay, let's return to Professor Uche, the inaugural lecturer himself. Without actually exposing what you intend to give us that day, can you briefly mention some common misconceptions about post-colonial studies and how you aim to address them during your lecture?
Well, I don't know where the boundary is between what I have to say here and what I'm going to say on that day. But I thought we were going to make do with Dr. Dixon's explanations.
Okay.
Namely, that I have often been disagreeing with the use of post-colonial studies. And even as I sit, I still disagree. In many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, I think that we should use a more appropriate term, because labeling itself is a part of a solution. If you mislabel something, you label it wrongly, it could be mistaken for something else. So I think that that should do for now. So all I will do, I will encourage you and others to be at the venue, and then some of the details will be explained. But basically, let me say one thing. We have post-colonialism or post-colonial studies. It's different. See, you have the point of domination, assuming that Nigeria became a colony of Britain in 1914. It's just an assumption. Then post-colonial studies, post-colonial enterprise begins around that time, immediately. It's part of the struggle for independence. Then if you, in that case, it continues until independence comes, until after independence. That is post-colonial without the hyphen. You understand that if you are talking of post-colonial with a hyphen, then it means it begins after independence. It excludes the period of thraldom period of domination. So these are some of the key concepts that we need to understand. And so basically that's just the thing. So when you talk of post-colonial studies without the hyphen in Nigeria, and then you have what goes on in the world called Nigeria, and you discover that the attributes of governance, the society, hardly do you have anything here that is truly post-colonial. So we have an alternative term, neo-colonial, which is more apt, more appropriate. And I feel that for purposes of correct labeling, correct identification, we should stick with that. That's in summary what I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Before we take a break, I'd like Dr. Dixon, who is a member of the planning committee, to tell us the exact time he's expecting your audience and, of course, the venue.
Well, as I said earlier, it's going to be at the main campus of University of Uniuyo, the 1,000-seater capacity auditorium. Officially, the lecture is built to start at 3 p.m., but guests are expected to be seated from 2:30 p.m. I think the entire day is going to be busy because it's a large hall and we need to put things in place. So we expect that whenever anybody comes, we'll not throw you out. Yes,
Okay,
it will be open from morning.
But it's more orderly if you come on time.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So please, for me, I know where the main campus is. For our people in the rural areas who are not in the university, where is the main campus located?
Main campus at Uniuyo.
Okay, we wanted to be very sure of that.
Of course, it's not hidden at all. Once you say you're going to University of Uniuyo.
You know, I was asking so that someone wouldn't have to come to Ikpa Road.
Maybe I can come in.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, thank you very much, Dixon, for that, and thank you, Mercy. There's sometimes confusion, even among people who are members of staff of the university.
Yes.
We have what we know as main campus. It is also sometimes known as permanent site.
Which is not correct, actually.
Permanent site
is when it was a site.
Yeah, when you talk of permanent site, it presupposes a temporary one. But now we don't have a temporary site. What we have is a town campus, which is on the Bar Road, and then the main campus. Okay? So when we talk about main campus, some people think that the main campus is the one.
That's town campus.
The town campus. No, that is the town campus.
The town campus.
Town campus is the one, the old campus that we know. Then the main campus is the new one. That is the main seat of the University of Uyo. So yeah, so on the way to Uruan.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. On our way to Ibomaikon.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Please, we take a break. When we are back, we'll continue with our discussion, special interview on the 103rd Inaugural Lecture of the University of Uyo. And the the inaugural lecturer is right here in the house, Professor Joseph Ushe, who is a professor of general stylistics and literary criticism. We also have a lecturer in the Department of English, Dr. Bernard Dixon, who is a member of the planning committee in the studio. So let's take a break.
My sister make you come out here. I cannot keep it to myself. Only God fit do this kind of thing. He turned my money into dancing. I see blessings overflowing. I can't explain
Dear viewer, it's good to have you back. It's a special interview program on AKBC channel 45 Uyo. We are talking with Professor Joseph Oshe, who is the inaugural lecturer of the University of Uyo, the 103rd inaugural lecture that is taking place on the 25th of July 2024. It's a Thursday and it will start at 3 p.m. Audience is expected to sit at 2:30 p.m. between 2:30 and 2:45 p.m. and that's at the 1000 capacity auditorium. We also have in the house Dr. Bernard Dixon, a lecturer in the Department of English, who is a member of the planning committee of this inaugural lecture. We've been rubbing minds with them to know how the day will look like and what we are expecting when some of us attend. Let's talk again with Professor Oshe and ask him directly, what potential impact do you think or do you hope your lecture will have on the academic community and beyond?
Yeah, thank you very much. That question is almost like asking me to write the history of the world on the surface of a post office stamp. Because impact is difficult to assess. First would be that some people will end up insulting me, calling me names. That too is impact. Then some people may live with some new information which they didn't have before they came. Some people came with certain feelings, certain thoughts about themselves, about society, and maybe those thoughts will be affected, will be corrected. And so the impact, I believe, will be big. But let me also say this with a sense of bit of humor. In the way we are in society today, almost everybody has become a lecturer. Either because of the experiences we have. When you go to the market to buy things and you are daggered by the price, you go to put fuel, you come away, you become an economist, an accountant, and everything, a philosopher. So what I'm going to do actually is to see how we can find some way of understanding these things. That is the duty of the humanity, that's the duty of the art. When you talked about Joseph Oshe being a professor of general stylistics and literary criticism, yeah, it's interesting, but you see, when you bring in the word literary, it connotes literature, literary criticism. It presupposes in this case that this person is very involved with literature. And in my case, I happen to also be involved with the process of producing literature, specifically poetry. So that means that I am sensitive to the condition of the society. I'm sensitive to the goings on, the joys and the sorrows of society. I am an integral part of the society. And then I am lucky not to be on top. I am lucky to be at the grassroots level. So I know how we feel as a people. So when people come, they are coming to listen to one of their own, talking about our common situation, our common society. Maybe the only thing would be, okay, I have an opportunity of holding the mic and talking. But I hope that what will come out on that day will be relevant to the daily experiences of my people, Nigerians, Africans, humanity. So in that case, I think that definitely I cannot just be standing for 1 hour and saying something that will either not annoy someone or will not please someone. There must be some real impact.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Let's return to Dr. Dixon. Some minutes ago, when you talked about his stance or his conception about post-colonial studies, you almost made him look like an iconoclastic person when that is mentioned. But now, what do you think or anticipate this lecture will, how do you think it will impact the future direction of post-colonial studies, especially in Nigeria?
Yes, as I said earlier, Professor Oshe is one person who has been committed to the goings on in Nigeria and Africa, socially and politically. And he is one person who has always canvassed a return to our culture, that whatever thing we will be able to achieve as a nation, be it in science or technology or whatever, must be anchored on our indigenous culture. So I expect that he is going to expatiate on that day. But beyond that, I want to believe that his inaugural lecture, to some extent, will be a compact presentation of his trajectory in poetry. Right from his first poetry collection, Popular Stand, which was published in 1992, I guess, to the last one, Yawns and Belches. Now, when you look at those two poetry collections, look at the first one, Popular Stand. It shows you the dichotomy in the Nigerian and perhaps African society, where you have the top that he referred to earlier occupying the VIP stand, and then you have the masses, the common people who feel the pain of bad governance occupying the popular stand, the stand that exposes them to the vagaries and elements whenever there is something to do at the stadium, so to speak. And then move from there to his latest poetry collection, which is Yawns and Belches. Again, you also see the polarization of the society in that particular poetry collection. There are those who yawn because they are hungry, and there are those who belch because they have overeaten. Again, two classes in the society. And this particular experience of Nigeria, and by extension Africa, is a product of colonialism and post-colonialism. So I expect that he would want to now see how to manage this space of 1 hour, to try to see how he can move from that early stage to what is obtained, or obtainable as the case may be, in Nigeria and in some African societies today. Of course, we're just recovering from what happened in Kenya a fortnight ago. I won't be surprised if we will capture all of that, as well as how that can impact Nigeria. And of course, do not also forget that being a post-colonial society also implies the fact that there are external forces that are actually pulling at the strings that make up Nigeria and Africa and all post-colonial countries, so to speak. I want to believe that one way or the other, it's not impossible that he will also take a swipe at those external forces, including political and economic institutions that have perpetuated post-colonialism and perhaps neo-colonialism, as he has rightly mentioned, in Africa and Nigeria in particular. So I believe that one way or the other, depending on what your perspective is, there's going to be an impact. But generally, I expect that many people will leave that lecture more relieved than they came, or that they will come to the lecture. That's because knowing Professor Ushe, I want to believe that there will be a lot of satire, there will be a lot of innuendos, and of course is going to encapsulate all of what he's going to say in a lot of humor, and that will make it easier for the different audiences that will come to bear or tolerate, as the case may be, some of the punches that we expect to come from the lecture.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Yeah, let me come. Yeah, can I?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dixon, for your reference to culture. While I thank you, let me say this. Culture is not just about people dancing and singing. Culture is society. Culture is civilization. Culture embodies the language we speak, the way we dress, the way we relate with one another, the civility, the way we obey rules, the way we respect or disrespect others. Even the science, our science, is also embedded in our culture. And when I talk about culture, I'm very passionate about culture. I am not passionate about culture as opposed to science and technology. I am passionate about culture as the foundation upon which science and technology must be built if society is to live. When you construct science and technology in the absence of culture, then you have constructed a risk to humanity. Because when a madman arms himself with the science and technology and does not have those human values, don't kill, don't tell lies, don't exploit others, then you know you have armed that person with a weapon to destroy. So when you have first culture, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, and now you work out technology that is going to ensure that these values are upheld and the well-being of humanity is promoted, then you have created science and technology that balances and promotes human existence. So that is why, if I had my way, I would say let us go back to look at the society. The society is decaying. People are ready, our youth are ready, they have open arms, they are receiving everything that comes because of the death of those values that our ancestors and the older generation cherished. But whereas if you go back and bring back those values and you are able to get our youth to accept them, they will take the science. Even if our scientists are going to invent things, our technologies, they will have to make sure that what they invent does not offend our sensibilities and sensitivities, and it will therefore help us to advance without necessarily destroying the foundation of the society. So I thought I should make that point clear. So when I talk about culture, it's not a simplistic act of dancing, singing, and storytelling. You know, storytelling has a value, it has some importance, but then culture for me is all embracing.
It's beautiful to understand it from that point, sir. Okay, let's return to Dr. Dixon before we actually take the final question to you, Professor Oshe. Yes. Okay, so Dr. Dixon, can you share any unique or noteworthy aspects of preparations for the 103rd Inaugural Lecture coming up on Thursday, July 25?
Well, I think if I say that, I'll now be...
You will uncover?
Yes, I'll be preempting it.
Okay.
I'll be preempting it. I'd rather not want to talk about that.
Okay, now finally, how can those who won't be able to make it physically enjoy the lecture? What do you have in place for them?
Yes.
Either before or during or after?
Yes, I think at the planning committee level, we're looking at the possibility of streaming it.
Okay.
Yes, we have that as part of the arrangements that we intend to put in place.
That's interesting because some people may not reside in Nigeria.
Yes.
So if they can't,
we're very conscious of that.
Yeah. Okay, so on the final notes, real final notes. Now, what's your last message? Well,
the last, as a member of the planning committee, of course, we want the hall to be filled. We want people to come, and we want this to be an inaugural lecture with a difference. And well, I'll have to talk about it passionately because, for one, Professor Oshe is in my department. He's my dean. He's my teacher. So definitely, I have a personal stake.
Interesting. It's been wonderful talking with you. And Professor Oshe.
Yes.
Why should people of different ages, different backgrounds attend the inaugural lecture?
Yeah, because people of all ages and backgrounds have one thing in them: blood. Another thing is they eat food to live. Another thing is that they move about irrespective of how old or young they are. They also can feel pain no matter the age or background. So in spite of what those things that you've mentioned, which look like differences, they are just like differences in color of skin that rest on bones that are similar in shape and strength.
So will they understand your lecture?
Yes, that takes us back to the question you raised earlier. Why is your topic so bare? It's so bare because it's deliberate. Let me confess something. Initially, I worked out a topic based on what you expected. I was then childish. I showed it to some people, and one of them, my teacher, my own teacher and mentor, looked at it and smiled and said, "This is a very good topic, but let me tell you, it is too technical for the audience you are going to address. And take note that this is not your stylistic class, and it is not your poetry class." So that now made me to look at the topic again, and then with him, he now said, "This could be better." And then I accepted the idea and then worked it out myself to where we now stand. And that my teacher, if you don't mind, Professor Uniuyo. Okay. So he was the one that drove me away from the kind of technical topic that you thought I was going to be.
And that's why I said you disappointed some of us.
Yeah, so yeah, but I think I like that disappointment, because in disappointing you, I have appointed others onto the fold. In disappointing you as a specialist in the field, I have also appointed others. Yes.
Okay, it's been wonderful talking with you, sir.
Yes.
And I always enjoy talking with you, whether it's World English Language Day, whether it's anything in stylistics or something. When once you're in the studio, I know we are going to learn. And today, we've not even attended the lecture, but we've got something from what you've explained to us. So we look forward to sharing that moment with you on July 25, 2024 at 3 p.m. And that will be taking place at the 1,000 capacity auditorium of the University of Uniuyo main campus along Wangiba. Once again, it's been wonderful talking with you. Thank you for being here. Okay, you have something to add, sir?
Yeah, just to also thank you for giving me the opportunity, and above all, thank God for keeping us till now. Secondly, thank the management of my university, because the management must give you approval before you present the inaugural lecture. So I thank the management under the leadership of very dynamic Vice Chancellor, Professor Uniuyo, who graciously approved of my presenting the lecture, and he and the management are working very hard to ensure that the lecture comes out well, and that people don't waste the 1 hour they will spend at that forum. And above all, I thank the audience who have listened, and I thank those who are, in quote, threatening to be there, because it doesn't, if you prepare a meal, no matter how delicious it is, if nobody comes around to eat it, then it's a waste. On the other hand, if you have a meal, even if there's no salt, and people come around and struggle and eat it ravenously, you will be happy that what you put in place has been honored by the eaters. So I thank those who will be there, and I thank you. I thank the management of AKBC for always being there for us, in the university and in the society. And I thank Dixon, who had to come, and the planning committee, that the members are working in a manner that sometimes I keep wondering whether they are working for someone else and not me. So I thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay, dear viewer, this is where we round off the special interview session with Professor Joseph O'Shea and Dr. Bernard Dixon. Professor Joseph O'Shea happens to be the inaugural lecturer, the 103rd inaugural lecture of the University of Uniuyo, taking place on Thursday, July 25. And Dr. Bernard Dixon is a member of the planning committee, so we brought them here to make some highlights and then make us also understand the reasons we should attend that lecture. Whether you're in the academic community or not, you will benefit from the lecture. That's what they have promised. So thank you for being there. Special thanks to my acting director general, Elder Mrs. Magdalene Odokan, FCAI, for graciously granting us this airtime. I think she loves academic things. And members of the house, Teddy, Uwem, Yekunoja, Kenneth, and all others who have helped out to make this session a great one. Once again, I am happy I was with you. My name is Mercy David. Bye-bye.